In this morning. I'm Kainani Stevens. June 4th, we're on OTA number 8 today, which means things will wrap up on Thursday. We're going to start off with our big things. Brian Sexton and John Oehser are with me. Big thing number 1 is OTA takeaways, because we're rapidly approaching the final days of OTAs. John, I know OTAs are definitely your favorite time of year, but there is something to be taken out of this, obviously, to see everybody here working together, kind of getting on the same page in the sense that things did not end the way they wanted to last year and they needed to turn the page. And this starts with OTAs.
Yeah, when you asked me at the top what should I take out of it, I'm not sure because they're wearing baseball caps. But on the front that you're talking about, Kai, there is going to be taken away. They're all here. There seems to be a good attitude, a good approach. Doug Peterson was good when he talked on Monday about talking about some young guys that he sees that have that look, Brian, of guys who are coming along, who are ready to make a second-year jump. To me, at OTAs, you're looking for a vibe around the team. I can't tell if Parker Washington's improved when he's wearing a cap.
Sure.
But I do feel like they're on the same page. They're enthusiastic. They're ready to be here. And things are as good as they can be going into the fall.
And I'll take it from a different perspective. We had heard from Trent Baalke that they wanted to be bigger, they wanted to be stronger, more physical. 3 words that stand out from these OTAs and probably will take forward into minicamp next week: size, speed, communication. The communication part in particular, Kai, has stood out to me. Because Doug Peterson stressed it in his different news conferences, and we've heard different players talk about it. But also because they haven't been wearing helmets and they've been out on the field talking, and you can hear them both lined up at the line of scrimmage and on the sidelines when other guys are in there. Talking. So those 3 words stand out to me, and communication probably the most meaningful because we don't see the size and speed and can't really balance that until you get to training camp.
Our second big thing today going to be that veteran presence we've seen out there. There's been some good attendance so far we've seen, and Brian, I think it bears to mention we've seen a lot of that veteran leaders on this team. They're here, and this is the time of year where you can really work with either newcomers to the team or rookies, and just trying to get everybody, moving in the same direction. There's, you really can't miss out on that when you have all these people in the house and you're able to work on that together. Well,
and listen, other than Josh, who we know works out in the offseason in Arizona, I think everyone has been here. And that's great in terms of getting set up for camp and making the most of the time. There are situations, I think Lamar Jackson's not working out in Baltimore. When you don't have your quarterback there, what are you really getting done? And so for the Jaguars to have everybody here, they're maximizing their time. And it works to the veteran players, John, because the coach is probably going to take it easy on them next week in minicamp since they've had such great participation throughout the offseason.
Yeah, I'm going to exaggerate this a little bit as I'm want to do, but the veteran presence is 16 being here because the quarterback has to be here, in my opinion. I don't know why Lamar Jackson isn't there. I'm not sure what's going on, but a quarterback, everything else depends on him, so he needs to be there. He's looked good. I think that's really a huge takeaway from this is that all his teammates are talking about how good he looks, how in command, all that stuff. To me, if Trevor's here, anybody else who's been here before can work out where they want.
Trevor's here and he's focused as well. We heard from him for the first time yesterday. He spoke to the media and he did weigh in on his contract talks. That's our final big thing this morning. Obviously, until that gets done, we're always going to be talking about that. Trevor said he lets other people handle it, but he is hoping that it will get done soon.
That would be ideal, just to put it behind us and keep moving and feel good about that going into training camp. But either way, like I've said before, I have the same job. So, I can't always control all those factors, but I have the same job to do either way. But yeah, I would, of course, that'd be ideal is to get it done, as soon as you can and kind of move forward.
John, it's not if but when at this point. It seems like everybody is kind of hoping it gets done in these next couple of weeks before training camp kicks off.
Yeah, listening to him, I'm thinking if I had over $100 million guaranteed coming my way, I'd want to get it done soon.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Or whenever, really. It'd be fine. I would take it whenever. Look, I don't expect this to go into training camp. I expect it to get done before that. If it happens to go into training camp, it feels like such a given that it's going to get done at some point that I would expect it to be a story day one of camp and then to sort of go away until it gets done. I just don't see it as being a distraction. Probably Brian, because I feel like it's going to get done. Yeah. I feel like it's going to be mind-blowing, and he'll be happy, it'll be locked up, and they can move forward.
So It just feels to me like this is a Tuesday press conference the week of training camp, that they'll get there. And I don't have any information that says that it's done and that it will. We've been hearing that they've been working steadily towards it. So I just get this sense that it's, hey, training camp opens this week. By the way, the quarterback is done, because everybody sees what's going to happen. Might as well clear the decks on that one. Real quick, I don't know whether you've noticed this, either one of you. And it's not that he's jacked, but Trevor looks bigger to me. I mean, he looks as if he has spent the offseason getting bigger. Not that he was ever small, but he looks solid.
We'll talk about that coming up after the break as we hear from QB1. He spoke to the media yesterday. All that after the break here on Jags AM.
With Verizon, now everyone can get our best phone deals.
Even if I'm new?
Even if you're new.
What if I've been with Verizon forever?
Oh, yeah. You see, new and existing customers get the amazing iPhone 15 with tons of storage on us. With any iPhone trade, any model, any condition. Guaranteed with unlimited ultimate.
Here's one. What if?
That's a yes. There's a deal out there for everyone. Only at Verizon. $829.99, 128 gigabyte only device payment or full retail purchase with new or upgrade smartphone line on unlimited ultimate plan. Minimum $90 a month with auto pay plus taxes and fees for 36 months required. Less $830 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. Promo credit ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. 0% APR. Trade-in terms apply.
Ancient City Brewing is celebrating 30 years of Jags football by becoming the proud craft beer partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And what better way to celebrate a throwback year than to throw back some of their expertly crafted beers? From Augustine's Orange Amber Ale to their Castillo Coconut Porter, there's always something new to discover at Ancient City Brewing, including the new First and Gold Golden Ale, coming soon to a Duval County store near you. Ancient City Brewing, taste history, make history, and please always drink responsibly.
And that's a Magellan first down.
Move the freight, move the freight, move the freight.
Would you like to control your own income? Work at Magellan Transport. Voted the coolest office space in Duval. Bring your talents and let your career flourish. Visit their website at MagellanLogistics.com and apply online. Trust service. Trust Magellan.
Move the freight, move the freight. Magellan Transportation voted the coolest office space in Jacksonville. You can apply online at www.magellanlogistics.com. Welcome back to Jags AM here in the Hyundai Studios. We're getting ready to wrap up OTAs, so we got to hear from Trevor Lawrence. Doug Peterson, also speaking to us yesterday, alluded to the fact that those veterans are probably not going to be here next week. The last couple of seasons, he's excused the veterans that attend OTAs and made mandatory minicamp just mostly for rookies and newer players or people working back from injuries. So we got to hear from QB1 for the first time kind of during this OTA period. And he weighed in a little bit about, a couple different topics, but he started off with what the team was able to do in the offseason and those additions to the team, and also what OTAs have been like so far.
Definitely a step up of the past couple years. I know that was the point of emphasis for us, is to really take advantage of this time that we get. Because come training camp, you want to feel like you're on your way to being a well-oiled machine. Obviously, you have work to do, but you want to use this time, maximize it, so when you get to training camp, you feel like you're a step ahead of where we were last year, even just other teams around the league. You want to try to get every advantage you can, and I think taking advantage of these practices is important.
It's a little bit of like, this is the next step of business. It's kind of a understanding this is work, we need to be here, and this is an important stage in terms of getting to where we want to go with our goals.
Well, and I think when he talks about the offseason and what they got done, he has to look at those guys inside, Ezra Cleveland and Mitch Morse, and know that the ability to run the ball makes his job so much easier, exponentially easier. And that's not exaggeration. He will be a much better version of himself if they can convert on third down and 3 yards or less, which they couldn't do last year. And then they can do this. They can send the ball down the field to all the different weapons that are out there. If I'm him, if they get the contract deal done, it might have been the perfect offseason.
He sounds to me like a guy who's practicing rather than learning, which is what he's supposed to be doing right now. He's in his third year in this offense. He's from what the coaches have talked about, he's doing what you would expect, which is being vocal, helping others. He should be able to see when Brenton Strange doesn't do something right because he's in his second year. he should be able to say, hey, run over there, and know what he needs, know what he's going to need in week 6. Hey, Brenton, if you do that on that play, I'm not picking on Brenton Strange,
sure,
but if you do that on that play, this is what's going to happen. So I need you to be 2 steps out, and he sounds to me like that guy. He's walking with that kind of confidence. He's playing with that kind of speed and confidence in these baseball cap practices. That's what you're looking for in year 4, but particularly year 3 in an offense.
Doug Peterson talked to us about it as well, of kind of having that extra coach on the field. That's what you want your quarterback to be, ideally. And we're seeing that a little bit more with Trevor taking ownership. He's entering his 4th season. He said he's putting the onus on himself to be a little more vocal and use that leadership style to help the rest of the team.
Another year in the system, just owning it more and more every year. And I feel like this year especially I've been able to express more of things that I like, want to do more of, maybe things I don't like or whatever it is, and been able to communicate a lot with the coaches, which has been great. So I think just owning the offense more and more every year is the key, and it's going to help me get better and have a really good grasp of what we're doing, what we're trying to do, the things that we need to improve on. I feel like I'm really in sync with the staff and kind of what the goals are.
John, you've covered different quarterbacks. Everybody has their own style. Trevor's always going to be a bit of a laid-back guy, but he can still be a leader in his own way and take control of this offense.
Yeah, I think Trevor's way of leading is I don't think he's ever going to be a vocal guy. I don't think you're going to see him on the sidelines, grabbing people.
Sure.
But I do think he can show leadership by the way most quarterbacks can best show it, which is being in the building first. Knowing more about what's going on than anybody else, so that when you speak from a place of authority. You don't want 3 guys on offense knowing the offense better than Trevor, because then when he says something, they're all like, well, I'm not better than this guy. Yeah. So I think he's getting there with that. Everything I hear from within the building is that his approach is getting better and better and better, which you would expect. You come in as a kid, you don't know how to work to get to that next level. It's a learned skill. Everything I've heard is that he's learning that skill and operating at a much higher level on that front than he has.
First in, last out, work on Tuesdays like the great quarterbacks do. If he does that, then that's the greatest form of leadership that he needs to give it as an example.
We talked off the top about the importance of, having the number 1 quarterback in the building, and obviously he's been here all this week. Earlier as well in off-season workouts, working with this team. He talked a little bit about working with the rookie and what he's seen from Brian Thomas Jr. so far.
I really like him. Obviously just talented, can fly. He's really smart. I think that's the one thing I'm most impressed with is he's picking up the offense super fast. He's a quiet guy, so we're still, getting him to ask questions and stuff, but he doesn't ask any questions. He always knows what to do. So I've been impressed. That's tough for a rookie. I was there obviously at one point and I was swimming a little bit, and to see him come out here and pick everything up and really not skip a beat has been impressive. And then the more comfortable he gets in the system and knows what to do, he's just going to get better and better. But I think our chemistry is growing every day. I'm starting to get a feel for how he likes to run routes. I'm starting to communicate more on how I want things to look and the thoughts that I have based on certain coverages or techniques on the defense. I think he's doing a good job of just soaking everything up, and that's what this time's about.
Trevor Lawrence, very complimentary of the rookie there, Brian. At this point, it's really just time on task, right? You just got to know and learn what each other likes to do and what you do best.
Well, you covered basketball. You covered the Celtics for a couple of years, so I'll use basketball terminology because I think that the passing game in pro football is like basketball. It's about spacing, right? Mm-hmm. And a guy like Brian Thomas with his size and speed, if a safety has to hesitate just that much, right? Brian Thomas is by him. If the running game pulls the safety up, Brian Thomas is gone. So think about the flip side of that. Brian Thomas playing at a high level moves the defense back off the line of scrimmage a little bit. And there's some room now with blocking schemes to get the running game going. A guy like that is a chess piece because he spaces your field out for you. Can't wait to see what he does.
Yeah, they didn't. I'm not saying they never used the deep ball in the last couple of years, but they manufactured the deep ball more than they actually had somebody who could strain the defense naturally. With Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas, they have 2 guys who can push the defense back. They may not have to always go 13 plays, and they didn't always go 13 plays before, but they should have more drives where they have impact plays. And to me, everybody's going to look at Brian Thomas. What are the numbers? What are the numbers? What are the numbers? If he strains the defense in the way Brian Sexton talked about, then I think he's a success this season, and the numbers will come at some point.
I think it's a great point. I think when you see an offense, thanks, John. When you see last year, what did we talk about? How the offense just looked out of rhythm. There wasn't that. They never got into gear. A guy like Brian Thomas can put them into that gear, but it might not always show in his stats. You might see it in Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne and Brenton Strange and a lot of different places, but a guy like that's a difference maker.
Opening it up for some other people on the field. Complimentary football, we love that. Stay with us here on Jags AM. Coming up after the break, we're going to do some Ozone mailbag questions, get you all the answers.
Have you been looking for a way to positively impact the youth in our community? Become a Take Stock in Children mentor today. For 25 years, Goodwill's Take Stock program has been changing the lives of middle and high school students in Duval, Putnam, and Suwannee counties. It offers support through mentoring, college tuition scholarships, and so much more. Take Stock is growing rapidly, and more mentors are needed. For just 1 hour a month during the school year, you can help shape a brighter future. To learn more and apply to be a mentor, visit goodwillnorth-fl.org.
Over 40 years ago, I made a decision to help people. Might sound simple, but following your passion never is. Big ideas tend to get bigger. What started out as one lawyer's vision is now a team of over 400 with an obsession. Today, protecting you and your family is more than a job. It's a way of life. Over 40 years ago, we set out to build a law firm. It's clear now that what we've built is so much more. I'm Eddie Farah, Jacksonville.
Enter the Corona Concert Beach Giveaway for your chance to win 2 tickets to a concert at Daly's Place and a 2-night stay at a Florida beach hotel. No purchase necessary. Open only to legal U.S. residents residing in Florida 21+. The Corona Concert Beach Giveaway is running from June 1st, 2024 and ends July 1st, 2024. No transportation or alcohol awarded with prizes. Prizes must be used before December 31st, 2024. Sponsored by Bold Events, LLC. Void outside the state of Florida. For complete details, see official rules at dailysplace.com/connect/Corona Sweepstakes. More on Corona Beer at coronausa.com.
Jaguars fans, gear up at fanatics.com with all the latest Jags styles. You can shop now and get today's special offer. Fanatics.com, officially licensed everything.
This broadcast is Ozone friendly. The Ozone.
Favorite time of the week? John Oehser shares his wisdom with us, or little bits and pieces. We know you're not going to share everything.
My wisdom is to be shared, Kai. I'm a giving person.
We appreciate you for that. Our first question is Levi from Huntsville, Alabama. He says, do you get a feeling either way on if the Jags will re-sign Travis Etienne? I feel like he has been a major contributor, but with running back being a devalued position, I worry he'll be let go.
Well, these are tricky spots. I think they will do what they can to retain Travis for the time that's projected for a running back to be productive. Yeah. And I really like Travis. I wish for his sake that he played offensive tackle.
Sure.
Because then at age, whatever it's going to be, a long-term contract is very likely. Travis knows, I've talked to him about it before, I think on the Ozone podcast last year, that the lifespan of a running back is different. He's trying not to worry about that end of it, was my interpretation. I would expect they've got him under contract for 2 more years, and then the franchise tag is an option after that if he's still playing at a high level, which I think he will be. Realistically, that's how you have to sort of monitor the running back situation. It's just hard to give a 26-year-old running back a 5-year contract because then you're paying him at 30 when you think that he's not going to be as productive. So I think they will do everything they can to be fair to Travis Etienne and to make that situation work because they value him. But the running back position, out of all the positions, is the one that you have to be the most careful with.
Was Ezekiel Elliott the last big running back contract? And you saw how that one worked. I mean,
pure running back.
Yeah, right. I mean, last year he played in New England, and I guess he's back in Dallas on a minimum deal. Running backs, as John said, just they don't get paid. Derrick Henry got paid, but he didn't get to the final year of the deal, did he? Because they had to let him go, and they didn't want to let a guy like that go. He's so important to their franchise. The whole running back thing, I would just guess that he'll be here the next 2 years.
Yeah, and maybe one more with the tag, and
Well, that would include the tag, right? Because this is
no, he's got one more, and then there's a fifth-year option. So,
who knows?
Yeah, it's just tough for that position to have it seem fair compared to other positions. And that's the plight of the running back right now.
It's a passing league.
It is. And if he can adapt to that game a little bit, like Christian McCaffrey, if he can become more, also pass catcher, that can help as well. So we'll see if that.
Travis
is certainly able to do that.
You mentioned McCaffrey. Great. He got a big deal.
Yes.
But he scored 24 touchdowns.
Sure.
So it's a different sort of thing.
We'll see how they utilize him in the offense. I think Travis is more than capable of being a part of the passing game, too. So our second question for John today is going to come from Marty in Jacksonville. He said, John, you said the Jaguars would like to front-load Trevor's contract as much as possible, but why would they need to do that? Unused cap space can be carried over, so front-loading the cap number in his contract has no particular effect.
Yeah, I try to answer these questions as best conceptually as I can, because I don't know the exact details of why you would structure everything every year, because the Jaguars are also trying to get things done within the cap to look at their long term as well, which we're not really privy to. The reason you try to front load is it keeps things in what I kind of call real time, and it keeps you from pushing numbers out that force moves you don't want to make later in the contract. Do they have to do that? No, because you can juggle the salary cap. And realistically, that's what starts happening with all these big quarterback contracts. Teams front load deals if they can, because it's just the best way to do it and sort of stay over your feet with the contract.
Longtime Jaguars observers will remember back in the day, and it's been more than 20 years, when this team was doing nothing but pushing the money forward, right? The ideal scenario, and that's what Trent Baalke did the first couple years he was here, was to pay as you go. And never front load or back load, but just put as much money in the cap in a given year as you possibly can. I think that's the best scenario. But John just said it, it's about balance. It's about being able to, as young, talented players come up, because in a couple years, if you want to pay Trayvon Walker, you don't want to be overloaded by pushing money out. So if you can pay as you go, I think that's the best approach.
But the reader also made a good point. In this day and age, because you can roll cap and because there's so much restructuring, when we talk about the cap this year, in February and March of the next year, Tim Walsh and Baalke go into their lab and it comes out a completely different cap. So you'd ideally like to not have to do that, but that's what off seasons are now.
And with quarterbacks, they drive your cap. Everything you do with your quarterback is driven to make your cap work.
They sure do. Let's check our final question from the Ozone mailbag today. It's Scott from Jacksonville. He says, getting rid of OTAs and extending training camp is a change that you don't want to see, John? He said, less OTA, more training camp sounds more like a return to the good old days than an annoying change. He says, I'm surprised you aren't all on board for that one.
Well,
sensible sarcasm?
Scott evidently is a young man, because I'm 57 and everybody knows that once you're 55, change of any sort is evil.
We don't like change.
So that's the first answer. But look, OTAs to me are very close to worthless in terms of my job. They're not necessarily worthless in terms of the coach's job. My guess with this is if they do move OTAs, and what they're talking about here is OTAs are currently right now. Essentially, they're talking about eliminating OTAs and extending training camp to start in early July. My thought, Brian, is if that happens, what will really happen is the OTA concept of this light work, this ramp-up work, will be lifted up and put down on July 4th, and you'll have 3 weeks of OTAs leading into training camp. I guess, in my opinion, an old man, no kids, I live 2 miles from the stadium. I can come over here whenever.
Right.
But I know where you're going with it.
Well,
it completely disrupts what has been the football schedule for 30 years.
Well, that's the human side of it. Let me give you that, and then I'll give you the football side of it. These coaches, when they hit training camp, they're rarely home, okay? They have to have very strong wives who can manage everything. They get to the offseason, there's a little bit more time for these guys to be normal. But their time is from the end of minicamp until the start of training camp. Their kids are out of school, and that's when they can go on vacation. That's when they can reconnect with their immediate family and their extended family. And you know, because you've been around it, it's a really important time in the off season for these guys so that when they get back for camp, they're fresh. That'll go away. And a lot of these guys have young kids. They can't go in May. You can't just slide their calendar up because their kids aren't all homeschooled. So you're taking a big chunk of the human side of it and you're just discarding it for cash, right? It's not the only situation that happens in this world, but that's what I don't like about it. Now, I did have somebody just this morning, a football observer, share with me, here's the downside to this. Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the OTA program are generally seen as these guys getting into football shape. And then OTAs and minicamp, they're ready to go out on the field and perform. So now you're talking about doing away with Phase 1 and Phase 2, and OTAs become the time when you get into shape. So what's the real value of OTAs then? Because you're not doing as much because they're not in football shape. They got to go run around without a football for 2 weeks and all the different phases. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, except that the owners may get their 18th game, which will be more revenue for them, and the players may get rid of part of the off season, but it's the coaches and the football staff, the training staff, the equipment staff, all those guys that get screwed in this deal. I think I hate it.
Well, the other side of that is there's also football people, meaning trainers, who believe that this may help with soft tissue injuries in terms of it's way too long to get into in this segment, but you get your body ready during OTAs, then you take a month and a half off, and then you come back and you're ramping back up.
But most of these guys don't take the whole month and a half and not do anything.
Yeah, but it's hard to stay in peak shape the way the trainers like them. So there is some thought that it might reduce soft tissue injuries. That's the other side of it. I'm with Brian. I don't like it, but that's the other side of it in the conversation.
It's curious to see the length, though. We already talked about how long the NFL season is, right? If you're adding an extra game and you're starting training camp in July, they're going to be July till late January. If you're making the playoffs, maybe February, you're going with 1 week off in that whole time period.
Yeah, from the players' point of view, from the Players Association view, I think they're getting this April-June back in exchange for that. So they think there's more real time off for the players. Again, that's the other side of the thought, but I'm with you guys on it.
We'll keep an eye on it, see how things end up with that. I'm sure more to come. We'll find out more about it as this comes together. Stay with us here on Jags AM. We'll talk a little bit about the end of OTAs after the break.
Jaguars fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com. The world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear from all the leagues, teams, and Jaguars players you love. Shop the most trusted brands, exclusive designs by Fanatics, and autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars. Join Fanatics Rewards today and earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and get today's special offer. Fanatics.com. Officially licensed everything.
Have you been looking for a way to positively impact the youth in our community? Become a Take Stock in Children mentor today. For 25 years, Goodwill's Take Stock program has been changing the lives of middle and high school students in Duval, Putnam, and Swanee counties. It offers support through mentoring, college tuition scholarships, and so much more. Take Stock is growing rapidly, and more mentors are needed. For just 1 hour a month during the school year, you can help shape a brighter future. To learn more and apply to be a mentor, visit goodwillnorth-fl.org. Enter the Corona Concert Beach giveaway for your chance to win 2 tickets to a concert at Daly's Place and a 2-night stay at a Florida beach hotel. No purchase necessary. Open only to legal U.S. residents residing in Florida 21+. The Corona Concert Beach giveaway is running from June 1st, 2024 and ends July 1st, 2024. No transportation or alcohol awarded with prizes. Prizes must be used before December 31st, 2024. Sponsored by Bold Events, LLC. Void outside the state of Florida. For complete details, see official rules at dailysplace.com/connect/Corona sweepstakes. More on Corona beer at coronausa.com.
But especially the way our season ended. I mean, it adds a little bit of a chip to your shoulder. And I mean, for us, though, it's the same. It has to be the same goal, though, every week is just to get that much better and to put ourselves in a position to be playing meaningful games in December, January, and make a push at the end of the year and just get better every week. I think that's something where you look back last year. It's almost we peaked a little too soon and we didn't finish the season the way we wanted to. It's important to be playing your best at the end of the year.
That late slide at the end of the season still on everybody's top of mind, of course, and the importance of every week to week maintaining that and playing your best football at the end of the season hopefully doing a little bit of reverse of what we saw last year. Does it start in OTAs or does it start in the season, in your mind, Brian?
I think it starts at the last week of training camp.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Yes.
OTAs are fine. They're good to get ready for all this. We will talk for 3 weeks about how important OTAs are. And then in the first interview in training camp, the players will say how this is what's important.
Do you know what's interesting is, as I was just thinking and listening to John, it used to be that there was nothing in the offseason and players would report for 6 weeks of training camp. And it sounds like that's what we're going back to.
It does.
Back to now that's back in the 70s in the 14-game schedule, right?
Right.
Where there were 6 preseason games. So they're not going to have as many preseason games, but that looks like what they're doing.
Ever changing. We'll see how things turn out. OTAs wrap up this week. We will have mandatory for some mini camp next week. So check in with us on Tuesday on Jags AM.